So I'm going to send a quick little wrap up of their training, since we're not able to get together and go over everything for quite some time. My first really big piece of advice is to spend a good amount of time working and doing things with them individually. A lot of times what I see with dogs and puppies that are the same age, more specifically puppies, is what's called litter mate syndrome. Even if dogs are not actual litter mates, but they're on the same age, what you find is they find more value within each other and tend to blow off their owners. And then as they get older, you'll find things like resource guarding owners and not wanting to share toys and things like that. So I want to avoid them amongst each other finding you, their owners, as a resource. And I doubt it'd be super problematic genetically because their golden retrievers are typically much more mild of a breed. But alongside that, it'll really help creating clarity with them. Working with them together, it is a little bit more stressful because of their age, because of their puppyisms. They get a little jealous of each other and they want to both be doing what the other one is doing. And I know that they live together and they have to exist together and they have to do things together, but for sake of you getting comfortable with doing things with them, I really, really promote playing with each of them one-on-one, working with them one-on-one, doing things around the house with them one-on-one, having one out and the other one away in their kennel and then switching them around, things like that. As far as working with them, I'm gonna go over a little bit of ways to help your relationship and build clarity with them. The first thing that's a huge thing, help for them, is using the leash to manage when they get a little chaotic. Especially right now where you're trying to figure out the best way to communicate with them. A lot of dogs tend to try to remove themselves if they feel a little frustrated, or if they're unsure of what you're asking, you'll find that they're like, I'm just gonna go over here instead because I'm not 100% sure of what's going on right now. So the leash at the most really is just keeping them around you. So a lot of times most of the time when I work with them, I have them on leash, even if I'm not holding the leash, even if I'm not actively using the leash, they're on a leash, so that way if they fumble a little bit, I can grab it and help guide them into whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So a big part of the leash that I have added onto is going to be the prong collar, and I'm happy to send that home with you whenever you're ready. It's been a really, really helpful tool. The prong collar is something that has a bad rep in certain crowds because it is a metal collar, but I really like the prong collar. It adds an extra element of communication through discomfort. I'm not going to say, oh, it's not uncomfortable, but discomfort should not ever be synonymous with pain. We're not trying to inflict pain on puppies or anything like that. It is simply a level of discomfort that they're wanting to remove in the now, whereas a slip lead or a flat collar or a harness, they're willing to deal with with a lot of pressure for an extended period of time. So the pulling and the dragging and all of those things, that's just a minor nuisance to them that they're through time desensitized to and don't really care. So when you are applying pressure to say, come over here, and they're pulling that way, they can deal with that amount of pressure for a good amount of time. Whereas the prong collar, if they put a little bit of tension into it, and they want to immediately, because of the level of discomfort that is applied, they move right away back into it, like creating slack. So it offers that communication time of immediately, instead of however long it takes for them to not be bothered by the other forms of tools. So I want to just kind of quickly demonstrate a little bit so that you know what it looks like, how to put it on, how to take it off. My caveat to the prong collar is definitely we want to make sure that the way we're using it is appropriate, and just like any other tool, it can be used inappropriately. It can be something that is just another thing that they ignore if the communication isn't there. So when we are applying pressure, you'll hear me refer to pressure probably pretty often. Pressure being applied is asking for something. Removal of pressure is the reinforcer. So wherever you remove pressure, tension, whatever the source of pressure is, that is going to be the reinforced behavior. So If we are giving them guidance with the leash, pulling, we want them to come back to us, or we want them to stop pulling, and they do move into that tension, and you keep this tension applied, the communication isn't there. You're not giving them the answer that you're looking for. So what I see often is people will pull with the prong or with anything, and the dog turns into them, but they want it to be a full picture of them coming all the way back or whatever, so they keep that tension in there, and then the dog is not understanding what it is that you're asking of them. So they have prong collars on right now. I'm going to just go over real quick so that I can walk up to the thing to show you what it looks like. Don't get up for me, guys. Bunch of lazy bums. Place. So, good. Okay, so it just looks like this. You can take it apart from any of the links. You do want to make sure that you're never sliding it over their head. You just push up on one of these tines right here, and you'll push up so those arches come out, squeeze it, pop it out like that. And then when you wrap it around their neck, you'll just make sure that this, excuse me, the car outside, this chain part is not tangled. And then you will just match up those prongs back to the little matching parts and then pop it in like that. The leash will attach to the loop that swivels. This collar, and also you can do it on an end piece too, that way it's not as, it's a little bit easier to squeeze. So, sorry, this car out the window is really loud. This should just be resting on their neck and never digging in when it's neutral and not being used. But it also should not be so loose that it's dangling around by their shoulders. We're gonna pause while this car